Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a brand new build video here in Marvel's Avengers. Today we're doing the Thorkeye build. Now the reason I've called it Thorkeye is, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we're going with a ranged Thor today. As you've seen the clips, it's going to be relying heavily on battery damage, just relying on just general AoE attacks, going crazy, getting everyone out the way. And we're going to go through, of course, with the stats first. Precision, of course, is key. Valor, of course, is naturally quite a big thing for Thor anyway. Resolve is relatively decent because, of course, I'm going to be attacked from each angle, and sometimes, you know, while I'm charging up, say, the ranged power attack, I might be attacked out of nowhere. The only thing that I would personally try and do, and I might work on it, you know, off screen, is a bit of proficiency, but we do a lot of crits anyway, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know what I mean? So I don't really see the worry about that. So of course we go, as we do it always, we go through the gear, then we go through the skills, and then hopefully you guys like something that you see here. So we're going to start off. We're going to go look for our heavyweight inspiration van braces. We've got resolve 40, valor 45, precision 34. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the perks here I'm not even going to talk about. They're completely irrelevant to this build. They could be any other thing. You know what I mean? They could have no perks. But what makes them good is the stats. So this is a stat stick that people call it. And it's literally just for the three things that you see here. So we'll move on. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is what makes the build. Yeah? So, proficient buff grip, proficiency 54, precision 57, 17.7% chance ranged power attacks grant a damage buff. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but when you're playing, you'll notice that you're throwing your hammer often. You know what I mean? You're doing a ranged build at the end of the day. You're going to be throwing your hammer a lot, and a lot of them are going to be ranged power attacks, which of course give you damage buff. Excellent stuff. Of course, you've got Pym on it that counteracts with natural Thor's shock with his Uru attack. You know, when the hammer's down and you press, for me it's R2 to allow the lightning to strike down. That's a battery right there. And 23.5% chance killing a pinned enemy. My apologies. Killing a pinned enemy grants a damage buff. Now, of course, what that is when you throw the hammer, not a ranged version, and it lands on the enemy's chest. If you shock them, kill them, punch them down, either way, as long as they're pinned, you've got that much chance at a damage buff. And we all love our damage buffs here when you're making these big glamorous builds. So this, if I didn't have this piece, this build would be nothing. You know what I mean? Anyway. Reflective buff breastplate. Now, we have Resolve 33, Resilience 38, and the reason why I do a little bit of Resilience is just because it helps charge up your support. That's kind of it, you know what I mean? And obviously we've got Precision there, which Precision on every single piece is important here. And the only part of this that is perfect for me is 24.3% chance parrying incoming attacks grant a damage buff. Now, parrying with Thor is he's probably the easiest character to parry with. Because, of course, a skill that I do have, which I'll show shortly, you activate your armor, your Odin Force armor with R2 as someone is coming in for the attack. It's very easy. You'll find yourself tapping it relatively often anyway while you're activating your Uru ability, you know, to shock people who are pinned under hammers and stuff. So you might even proc it accidentally. Do you know what I mean? So that's why you'll see a damage buff quite often, really. And here we've got the Girdle of the Storm, an exotic that I got from a Tachyon Rift. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you've seen my Iron Man build, you'll see that I am once again cursed by a Gamma Potinator that does not belong there. I would love a Pym one. That's the goal at the moment. But of course, besides that, it's an excellent piece. Resolve 45, my apologies. Intensity 47, Precision 47. Now, Tachyon Surge, of course, 17.4% chance when defeating enemies to temporarily activate a Tachyon Surge. Surges increase all status damage by 50%. Now, intensity is normally the thing you would want to go for these sort of things, but I tend to find intensity gets in the way of getting your normal damage higher. So Tachyon Surge is your friend in this regard. This is why it's such a good piece, and of course increases charge rate of Heroic Assault ability by 18%, which is my God Blast ability. Which you'll see when I go through the skills. I'm having a bit of a crisis with, but I will explain my reasoning behind that later on. So of course for this one, because we're going for a lot of battery effects, we go for the Tactagon. 11.6% increased damage on enemies affected by any status, 11.6% increased status damage from all attacks, and of course trigger an explosion that deals exploit damage on enemies affected by any status, and increases all status damage against any unaffected enemies hit. Now you'll notice that I used it on Abomination. I was going for the damage buff thing at first, just because I had so many damage buffs in the build, but I thought to myself, you know, it doesn't really make sense when I could just have constant help with my status damage, so that's kind of why I went for that instead. As you can see here for the ISOs, there's a 2-stack of Precision. Of course, I don't need to explain to you that I would prefer a 3-stack, but the idea is there, that's why I'm comfortable showing it to you. And here we've got a 3-stack of Valor. And now we're going to go over to the skills, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, won't be showing primary. There's never any point. Here we've got Warrior's Fury Specialization 1, and we go for the first one. Nearby teammates receive a temporary damage boost to 25% when Warrior's Fury is activated. Now, a lot of these are, of course, support based. This one out of all of them is the better one. You know, you're activating it, your teammates are going to be able to go ham on any enemies around you while you're doing the exact same thing with this one in Specialization 2. Increases critical attack damage by 25% and critical attack chance by 10% of anyone affected by Warrior's Fury. That counts as yourself, ladies and gentlemen. So, of course, you'll notice that before any sort of big encounter, you'll want to activate Warrior's Fury, and you'll want to get that on your character for the the most damage you can possibly do. So God Blast Specialization 1, we've got it here. Thunderstorm, hold up to 3 charges of the God Blast ability. The ability charges faster than normal, but enemies are not lifted into the air when God Blast is activated. Now, I'm stuck. Because this is an AoE sort of build, I'm stuck between this one, which really does help get people out of my way, and I'm also stuck with this one, Son of the Elder Gods. God Blast Whirlwind inflicts 20% more damage and applies cryo damage to targets caught in the whirling vortexes. Now, because I've got Pim, which of course is a warm effect, and cryo is a cold effect, you'd think that would help a lot. But because God Blast then takes even longer to get added, it's only really, to me, it's only really effective against boss fights, and that's not really the point. But of course, I can switch them out on the fly. But to me, this 3 charges of the God Blast has done me more favours personally. But I will be messing about with it, and I would suggest that if you are using this build as a guide, do the same thing, because I am struggling to determine which one is probably better in every circumstance, just to save you guys from having to change the skills every couple of minutes. God Blast Specialization 2, here I've chosen God Blast inflicts 20% increased damage when triggered while overcharged. Now, Warrior's Fury makes you overcharged, so of course you'll notice that I'll go overcharged and then do the God Blasts. That's what I would recommend you do anyway. It's just, it's just a good idea, because you're going to be overcharged quite often, so I would suggest using that. So here we've got Bifrost Specialization 1. For this one, we do the Bifrost that leaves a massive circular hazardous zone of burning embers, which does plasma burn damage. Now, of course, Thor's naturally a shock character, so this is instantly a battery effect right here. For some reason, I've noticed that my Bifrost doesn't do insane damage. It doesn't need to, because of the sort of build I'm doing. But it's interesting enough. So if you want to, get instant battery effects, it sort of doesn't matter what build you do. I would recommend this one pretty much for every single build that you have in your mind. So Bifrost Specialization 2. Odin's Blessing of the Realm. Automatically activate Odin Force Overcharge when returning from the Bifrost. See what I mean with how I'm going to be overcharged relatively quite often? A lot of things proc my overcharge, especially all my heroics, so keep that in mind when you're looking through your skills. So here we are on Mastery, Damage Specialization 1. Here we've got range damage, increases all range damage attacks by 15%. It's pretty self-explanatory, you know what I mean. With these ones, you always want to go for sort of just more range damage. And the next one here on Specialization 2, we've got increases damage from unarmed attacks by 15%. Now, this goes in line with the whole killing enemies while they're pinned with Mjolnir. Obviously, if an enemy is close to me, even though I haven't got a lot of might, if I want to go over to him and just start punching him to potentially activate that damage buff, that is helpful, especially with my very, very, very low might. Performing a takedown forces an enemy to drop an heroic orb. This is pretty self-explanatory. I want to go try and get an orb to activate my heroics a little bit faster. To me, any build that you want, I would always choose that one, unless you're going for a pure glass cannon. Then, of course, regen packs would probably be the way to go. So, Hammer Specialization 1, we've got Impact Explosion. Now, I've seen a couple of people want to do this one. Hold R2, then release precisely when the hammer flashes to guarantee the throw inflicts 20% increased attack damage. Now, critical attack damage. Now, I can totally understand it. I totally get it. But for an AoE standpoint, I just prefer this one. You know what I mean? I've got Pim on my hammer, lightning shocks from the impact explosion. It just makes sense to me that if I throw that one down a corridor, there's more chances of it actually doing damage to everyone than if I did this one and it just wouldn't touch it at all. You see what I'm saying? Now, Specialization 2, we've got increased hammer throw and recoil speed by 15%. You'll see it in the videos that I have where I'm just throwing the hammer at points and I'm doing relatively okay damage. And that's literally just because I'm wanting to launch it as much as I can and try and get, just those hits in before I recharge again. This one's irrelevant. It literally is. Like, there's no point talking about this one. This has no impact. Defeating enemies while Odin Force is active strikes nearby targets with lightning. This one's, of course, really good. You know what I mean? Like when I'm but basically it's good for the parrying as well. You know, if someone's coming near me, they'll get shocked. You know what I mean? Like if I defeat an enemy nearby, they get shocked, which is good. It applies the damage. I have Pim. You see what I'm saying? That's why it's such an important big part of the build. Odin Force Charge Specialization increases the maximum amount of intrinsic Odin Force energy by 15%. Of course, intrinsic being very important considering we're going to be using Odin Force a lot in this build. Here we've got Odin Force Efficiency Specialization increases the automatic regeneration speed of intrinsic Odin Force energy by 12%. You know, we wanna try and get Odin Force procced as much as we can. Lightning Field, when overcharged, surrounding enemies will be intermittently struck by lightning. This is excellent. We want them to be struck by lightning. We want them to be shocked. Here we've got Overcharged Defense Specialization. Charged Heroic increases heroic energy regeneration when Odin Force is overcharged by 10%. We want heroics going up. You see what I'm saying? This all works together in harmony. That's the best thing about this build. Overcharge Activation Specialization. Here we've got Damage Force increases all damage by 15% when Odin Force is overcharged. Again, Warrior's Fury gives me the critical attack damage. This, because Warrior's Fury makes me overcharged, 15% more damage. So that is the Thorkeye build, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you enjoy this explanation. I hope to do more of these soon. I've got a Black Widow one in the pipeline. By the way, thank you so much for the support lately. We're on 73 subscribers. That is ridiculous. We're so close to 100. Can we get there? I think we can. Thank you all, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.